Hi, it's Ileana, and I've been asked to discuss James Rink's latest video about the claims in regards to the Galactic Federation removing the ICC Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate crews off of two space stations. One space station with 5,000 crew members and the other with 10,000 crew members, and to check into the validity of how accurate this information was being reported by James Rink and the claims of the Galactic Federation destroying the two space stations after the crews were removed. So this is my response to what I am able to see as a remote viewer from what happened in that situation, while listening to James Rink describe how the Galactic Federation beamed off the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate crews that had 5,000 and 10,000 members on both stations, then destroying the stations. I get impressions. So the impressions I got was of coldness, emptiness, and robotic interferences. Those space stations had already been slated to be decommissioned as they were illegally experimenting with black goo and AI infestation of crew members and having captives that were infested with AI viruses mixed in with the black goo, seeing how that black goo with AI will integrate with human matter. So work was in progress by the Space Alliance to shut down the space stations and have them removed from orbits of Mars and between the moon. The other three ICC space stations have not been compromised with having unsanctioned body experiments being done on victims. They are not creating abomination cyborgs at this point, so they were not slated for destruction, but they are being closely monitored. ICC will not be allowed to try to stabilize the use of black goo in combination with AI synthetic systems to be integrated into human and cyborg bodies, as this causes the unholy human cyborg transmutational and transhumanism farming operations of AI viruses infesting worlds and colonies of humanoid beings. So there's a lot of plans they had for transmutation and transhumanism. So transmutation is transforming the human body into a cybernetic system, and they wanted to accelerate those projects and experiments to fast track them by adding in stabilized black goo and AI, synthetic AI, that would basically fast track the cybernetics process. But it was a failed experiment because honestly, it would destroy the human body, literally eviscerate it eventually and kill it, or cause the human to go mad and mentally unstable. You cannot put black goo with AI synthetics into a cyborg body and expect it to function correctly and to fast track the cybernetics process. That's not how that works. That is very illegal experiments that they were doing. So it's no wonder that those crews were removed and the space stations were destroyed. In regards to the ICC leader named K, that individual will be slated to be put on trial for implementing psychogenic mind control through air contagions that were released through the air filtration systems on both ICC space stations to command the crews to do inhumane things on these stations. This leader will not be allowed to live out their lives forever on an isolated planet that was terraformed and was temporarily assigned to them in order to quarantine them from black goo contamination and AI infestation protocols. What I was able to read from the operations of removing the 2 ICC space stations, they were removed for doing the illegal black goo NAI experimentation for transmutational and transhumanism experiments. You don't mix black goo with AI synthetics and cyborg components to make supercharged super soldiers. That is a recipe for failure, and that's why the Space Alliance gave permission to basically decommission the space stations, have the crews removed, and to destroy the space stations. As for the Galactic Federation of Worlds leading this operation, I am getting that this did not happen in current time. This is not a current operation. The space stations were destroyed half a year ago. This event did not happen in recent time sequence. Operational secrecy and clandestine infiltration of the illegal operations was conducted to assess the threat levels to the various SSP corporations and erase the ICC abomination projects. So I think this was a joint effort to remove these space stations, and the plan is to decommission ICC because it's been a threat level for far too long. But this is not a current project of destroying the space stations that just happened. This was half a year ago that this was done and operations were completed. So the time sequencing is not present time, but half a year ago. And this is being now revealed. And again, it has been reported often that the Interplanetary corporate conglomerate has been decommissioned a year ago. There are sources who have reported that. So it's kind of a mixture of information that's coming through and being reported. So I am just reporting what I got, the impressions off of this op and why those space stations were destroyed. And those ICC crew members on those 2 space stations were being manipulated with gas contagions being filtered through the air systems, the air quality systems on the space stations. So there was a lot of mind control being used to influence crews, and again, a lot of coldness, emptiness, and robotic interferences. So ICC is doing very unholy experiments that are illegal, and they were shut down for it. So I just wanted to probe that today, and also to say that there will be trials and tribunals on all of this, and some of these crews and members will be given choices to basically stop working for these corporations and to get rehabilitated. And they would be assigned to newly terraformed planets to live out their lives somewhere else, not on Earth. They won't be welcome back on Mars or Earth. So they can't go back to their previous lives, but they can be rehabilitated. But that's not what's on offer for the leader named K of the ICC leadership. That's not what he's being offered. He will be put on trial and they'll go from there. I'm not sure what they'll do with him, but he's not going to be staying permanently on a terraformed planet for his own protection, because he authorized illegal, inhumane projects for the ICC to do. So his his situation is very precarious here. That's what I'm also picking up. It's very serious. So, and all of this is being shut down in operations that is happening. I was seeing a lot of different beam rays coming out of triangular type of laser systems. So triangular type of probing devices that probed the two ICC space stations to see their size, their mass, locations and orbits of being between Mars and the moon. And then those sort of triangular looking devices surrounding the space stations, almost putting them into an isolation in the vacuum of space, almost putting like a time bubble around the space stations, and then shooting lasers at them to literally eviscerate them. And then the pieces being absorbed by the time vacuum bubble so that there wouldn't be any evidence of debris or anything recorded on satellites or telescopes. So this was a very hidden mission where these triangular type of devices, they're both probes and laser beam guided weapon systems and they're larger than satellites and they're triangular. So they do cleanup work pretty fast, as if you're not going to see evidence of any destruction. So this happens very quickly and the cleanup is very timely. So how these space stations were removed and disposed of was done with precision and planning and accuracy. So there wouldn't be any casualties and that the debris fields, there wouldn't be any debris fields from the space stations, that they wouldn't hit anything of other passing vessels or crafts in that vicinity. So this was done through using some kind of time dilation technology. These devices can portal in and out, these triangular devices. So, and they do the work and they portal out and they take the time vacuum bubble, space bubble with them. So that's what I was getting in the impressions of how the space stations were removed once the crews had all been beamed off. So they were empty and they were removed this way. So I just wanted to report on that. Thank you so much and namaste.